Dad, the waitress's pendant is the same as the one in Mom's photo. The billionaire froze. The rain tapped softly against the windows of the quiet roadside diner, the kind of place where time slowed down and the coffee was always hot, even if it wasn't particularly good. It was just past dusk, and most travelers had already found their destinations for the night. But at a corner booth, a man in a crisp charcoal suit stirred his coffee absent-mindedly, his phone vibrating with unanswered calls. He had been called many things in his life: tycoon, genius, shark, but not lately. Lately, he was just tired. Tired of boardroom battles, tired of being surrounded by yes men, tired of living a life so gilded it had lost all color. Beside him sat a boy, his son, Evan, eyes bright with curiosity, always full of questions, like any 10-year-old trying to figure out the world. They were on their way to a conference, but a blown tire and a missed reservation had landed them here, in the middle of nowhere with nothing but pancakes and pleather booths. It wasn't where Daniel Hartley, billionaire tech mogul, expected to spend his Friday night. A soft clink drew Evan's attention. Their waitress, a young woman with a warm but worn smile, had just refilled their water. Around her neck, a pendant caught the flickering light. Evan squinted, then leaned closer to his father. "Dad," he whispered, tugging Daniel's sleeve. "The waitress's pendant is the same as the one in Mom's photo." Daniel froze. He turned to look. The pendant was a small silver locket in the shape of a lily, slightly tarnished with age. It was impossible, not because the pendant was rare, but because of what it meant. The last time he saw that exact design was nearly 20 years ago, resting against the collarbone of a girl he once loved more than anything in the world. Emily. His voice caught. "Excuse me," he said, rising from the booth, eyes still fixed on the necklace. "Where did you get that pendant?" The waitress, startled, instinctively reached for it. "Oh, this? It was my mom's," she said. "She passed away when I was a baby. I've worn it every day since I can remember." Daniel's throat tightened. What was her name? She hesitated, unsure why he cared. Emily. Emily Dawson. The world seemed to tilt. Daniel gripped the edge of the booth. Emily Dawson. His first love. The woman he had walked away from when ambition called louder than his heart. She had told him she was pregnant before he left for Silicon Valley, but he hadn't believed her, or hadn't wanted to. He never answered her letters. He told himself it was for the best. Now, standing in this dusty diner, he was looking into the eyes of a girl who could only be. "I'm sorry," he managed. "Can we talk for a minute?" The waitress, confused but curious, nodded. She led him to the counter as Evan watched, wide-eyed. "I knew your mother," Daniel said quietly, his voice trembling with a mix of guilt and disbelief. "A long time ago. We were close." She blinked. "You knew her?" He nodded. "She meant the world to me once. But I left. I was young and stupid and driven by things that don't matter much anymore." There was a long pause. Then she smiled softly. "You're him, aren't you? The Daniel Hartley from Heart Tech." Daniel gave a sad chuckle. "Yeah. That's me. The one who thought he could build a life from scratch but forgot what really matters." They talked for over an hour. Her name was Lily, named for the pendant, she said, and she had grown up in foster care after her mother passed. She had bounced around for years, always wondering who her father was. The only clue she had was the locket and a name scrawled in the margins of a photo, Daniel. She had applied to college 3 times, juggling 2 jobs to save up, and had recently been accepted to a state university but deferred enrollment because she couldn't afford the tuition or leave her younger foster siblings without support. Daniel listened, overwhelmed by a guilt that had aged in silence for 20 years. But beneath it, something else stirred, a hope, a possibility that this broken thread from his past could be woven into something beautiful again. That night, they parted with a hug that carried all the weight of lost years and silent questions. Lily returned to her shift, and Daniel sat back down beside Evan, who looked at him with a quiet understanding. "Is she my sister?" he asked. Daniel nodded slowly. "Yes. She is." Evan was quiet for a moment, then smiled. "She's nice. You should help her." And he did. The next morning, Daniel called off the conference and returned to the diner. He waited for Lily to finish her shift, and then handed her a single envelope. Inside was a letter, his acknowledgement of her as his daughter, and a full scholarship to any university of her choice, along with an offer to support her siblings' education as well. But it wasn't just about money. Daniel spent the next few months visiting her, getting to know her, repairing the chasm of absence with presence. He attended her college orientation. Helped her move into the dorms. Invited her to meet Evan and his family. They spent weekends together, sharing stories, building what they could with the time they had. And for the first time in decades, Daniel Hartley felt rich in the ways that mattered most. Months later, during a charity gala, he took the stage to deliver a speech. But instead of corporate platitudes, he shared a story. About a young waitress, a silver pendant, and the family he almost lost. "I spent years chasing the world," he said, "but the world I truly needed was in a diner off Highway 4, pouring coffee and carrying the strength of a mother I once loved and never truly knew I'd lost. In Lily, I found not only my daughter but the reminder that no amount of success is worth anything if you have no one to share it with." The crowd rose to their feet in applause, but for Daniel, the only thing that mattered was the smiling face of a young woman in the front row, her pendant glinting softly under the lights, no longer a mystery, but a symbol of everything he had finally found. Because in the end, the greatest fortune isn't the empire we build with our hands, but the connections we mend with our hearts. And sometimes, the road to redemption begins in the most unexpected places, with a pendant, a photo, and a whispered truth that changes everything.